based on real historical events. Some called it possession, others called it hysteria. What do you see?
Condemned without possession. Clara de la Boule lay upon the cold stone slabs of the cathedral. The body writhed in grotesque and unnatural contortions. Joints cracked dryly, as though they belonged not to mortal flesh, but to some alien creature. Fingers curled with sudden violence, then slackened again, as if something within sought passage into the world. Foam gathered at the lips, unheeded. From the throat issued broken, guttural sounds, bearing no likeness to any known tongue. At times, amidst that discord, there slipped something akin to laughter, brief, stifled, and most ill-placed. The crowd murmured. Bourgeois, merchants, peasants, all had gathered, drawn by rumor of miracle or horror. They beheld the scene with mingled dread and revulsion. One woman clutched a rosary so tightly that the knuckles blanched white. A child beside her stared without blinking. Priests in white vestments formed a circle. Hands moved in solemn rhythm, voices repeating words heavy with certainty. When holy water touched the afflicted flesh, the form arched violently, as though a sinner burned upon contact with sacred relics. Breath faltered. For a moment, all fell still. Then came the smile, too wide, too serene. It appeared before the body yielded, before the agony subsided. Lips parted slowly, as if aware of every watching eye, and as if such attention brought a most perverse delight. The chill of the stone beneath remained unchanged, the same chill as on that day. Rain streamed upon the roof of the carriage when arrival was made at the Ursuline convent. The sky hung low and heavy, as though poised to collapse upon the earth itself. The horses snorted uneasily, mud clung stubbornly to the wheels. The carriage came to a halt before iron gates. Descent was unhurried. The hem of the gown drank in the damp earth at the first step. The air carried the scent of wet stone and something stagnant, indefinable. The parents stood nearby. The father, Count de la Boule, did not cast a glance. His gaze fixed somewhere beyond the gates, as though the child had already been abandoned there long before the carriage stopped. The mother embraced with cold hands. A kiss was placed upon the brow, brief, almost careful, yet utterly devoid of warmth. Then they departed, silently, coldly, without turning back. The nuns led the newcomer to a chamber to be shared with Giselle Fur. At the very first meeting of their eyes, something closed. No word was spoken, yet it was final. Clara entered with a curious eagerness, as though the place were already known. A trunk was cast upon the bed and opened with abrupt force. Garments spilled forth, colored, soft, ill-suited to such walls. Hands moved restlessly among them, without so much as a glance toward the other girl. Giselle remained on the bed a moment longer, then stepped forward, gathered part of the scattered garments, and tossed them back.
There are drawers under your bed. You will not need them.
The new girl lifted her gaze. A brief smile appeared, as if hearing an invitation rather than a warning.
Is that so?
You cannot wear these here. I will call Sister Sophie to have them taken away.
Clara rose sharply and caught Giselle's hand, firm enough to silence her.
You will not call anyone. They are mine. Do not touch them.
Giselle did not pull away at once. Her eyes dropped to the hand on her skin, then returned to Clara's face.
This is not your decision.
I will wear what I wish.
There is nowhere to go with them.
That is not your concern.
We are not allowed to leave the convent.
Clara let go. She bent down and began gathering the garments quickly, pushing them beneath the bed. For a moment, she paused.
Do you not have your own? Or have you always been like this?
Giselle did not answer immediately. Her face remained still, the jaw tightened.
I grew up here. There is no other home.
The silence thickened.
And your parents?
I do not know. I have no need of them.
You have never left, never been to the town.
Giselle's teeth pressed together hard enough to produce a faint sound.
We do not leave. We keep ourselves from the lust of the town.
Clara turned away with a look of contempt, then continued to gather the garments with sharp movements. Then, in the rain, there had been only an abandoned girl. Now, on the cold floor of the church, there was something else. Something that smiled. The crowd watched in fear. Without warning, Giselle doubled over, as though something within had torn apart. A cry of pain cut through the air. Her body bent, hands clutching her stomach, a violent cough following. Then she staggered closer to Clara. The body could not hold. Another harsh cough, hands tightening over the stomach. From the possessed mouth burst a thick, black fluid foul, almost tangible, straight into the other's face. The stench was unbearable. The crowd groaned in disgust and recoiled, hands rising to cover noses and mouths. Giselle collapsed to the ground, trembling. Broken words spilled out, curses, insults, blasphemies. Every trace was licked away, slowly, almost lazily, without revulsion, only with pleasure.
That is the taste of lies.
Came the low hiss.
Do not trust this deceiver. No one would choose such an empty, colorless woman.
Silence!
Giselle cried, rising abruptly. Hands gripped at the fabric, cloth tore. Nails split the skin as if it were thin cloth. No blood followed. First came a single fly, then another, then dozens. Black bodies poured out, buzzing, colliding, rising toward the vaulted ceiling of the cathedral. The crowd broke apart. Cries, footsteps, panic. The nuns flung the windows open with force. Giselle writhed in pain.
Help!
The voice cracked.
Please, do not leave.
Fear broke through something deeper. Father Antoine stepped forward. The crucifix was raised. His voice cut through the noise, low, unyielding, each word forged in Latin.
Crux sacra sit mihi lux, non Draco sit mihi dux.
The possessed form arched backward, as though struck in the chest by an unseen hand. A scream tore free, not human, but animal, laced with choking laughter.
Vade retro, Satana!
Holy water struck like a slap. Giselle choked. Breath failed. Knees hit the ground. A frightened gaze turned toward the crowd, fixing on a woman.
Help!
Came the faint whisper.
God, she will suffocate.
The possessed girl slowly raised a hand and motioned for the priest to come closer. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward. The sacred cross touched her forehead. The wheezing grew deeper, more frequent. A choke followed. From Giselle's mouth sprang a frog. Large, green, slick. It struck the stone floor with a dull croak, then leapt aside. Another cough. The body convulsed again. A second frog forced its way out. Then another, and another, one after the other. Uncontrollable. The crowd screamed. People climbed onto chairs and benches, pulling away as though the ground itself betrayed them. No one dared come near.
They are unclean!
One of the priests cried.
Stand back!
The possessed girl let out a dark laugh, low, guttural, both hers and not. The body rose slowly.
The deceiver has always been Clara. What has she done? Nothing. Only learned to be seen. A pampered child of wealthy parents, accustomed to receiving all it desires. But of what use is such a creature? What can it do?
Clara's smile twisted. She stood, then snapped her head sharply backward, while the face remained turned toward the crowd.
In me dwells Asmodeus, the prince born of lust and desire. He wakes whenever a soul yearns for what it must not have. Master of longing, a ruler who teaches not love, but indulgence. He offers something richer, swifter, more dangerous, hunger that never fades. Something moves through him, something you have already heard whispering to stay, urging the door to open.
The body began to rise, slowly, a few inches above the ground. Then higher, the crowd held its breath. Fingers pointed. Whispers swelled into noise.
She can fly.
Bow before me!
The voice hissed.
I did not bury desire. I set it free, as on that night.
The words cut through the air. Giselle froze. A window, a sound, wind, darkness in the room. She woke with a start. Someone had opened the window. Frightened, a hand reached for the matches, striking one with trembling fingers. A flame flickered.
Shesh.
A hand clamped over her mouth. The voice was familiar.
Not a word.
The light trembled. Clara stood by the window. Secular clothes, hair loose, breath unsteadies.
Where were you?
Surprise lingered in the half-sleeping voice.
Outside.
With whom?
Why should I tell you? So you can run to Sister Sophie.
The hand holding the candle began to tremble. A cry was barely held back.
I know.
Lower your voice. You will wake everyone.
We know why you were sent here. We pretend not to see.
Do not speak to me like that!
You were sent here because of Father Bernard. You seduced him in his chambers. You have no shame.
You understand nothing.
Clara's voice softened.
We love each other.
No one will marry you now. You are stained.
I do not expect you to understand. Perhaps if you were not so dull, someone might have taken an interest in you as well.
How dare you? I am virtuous and devoted to God. Anyone would desire me.
No one looks at you that way.
Giselle did not feel the moment she lunged. Hands tangled in Clara's hair. A scream pulling. A blow. The door burst open. Shadows. Hands. Voices too late. Something had already begun, and in the cathedral, years later, Giselle felt it again. The same feeling. Small, unseen, replaceable. Father Anton stepped toward Clara, crucifix in hand, and cried out,
Exorcismus T! Omnis immundus spiritus!
The possessed girl convulsed midair. A scream tore free, not in the voice of the young maiden she was, but in something deep, ancient, as though it pierced the cathedral walls. Eyes glimmered, lips curved into a half-smile, and every motion turned hypnotic, fluid, provocative yet disturbingly inhuman.
Vade, Satana, inventor et magister omnis fallatiae!
Asmodeus answered, voice cold, edged with mockery.
Sub vest to annutus aspiter. Non coram Deo, coram me, osculatua. Ad hus apicero me. Levis oculos. Ad me, sed not to ad. Him levamus corpus! Quid pudent, aequi spectant!
Silence, serpent!
The exorcist shouted, anger breaking through.
Your lies and corruption will not ensnare us!
With a sharp motion, Clara tore the veil from her head, letting her hair fall loose. It slipped to the floor. Movement flowed again, unnaturally smooth, weaving a lure with a darker dread. The crowd froze.
Father Antoine, spare the protest. Desire cannot be suppressed. It only grows.
Slow steps closed the distance. Fingers brushed his shoulder. The exorcist recoiled, disgust plain. The body collapsed beside him, then laughter followed, soft and cold.
Do not be ashamed!
Enough!
Giselle's voice cut in, sudden and fierce.
Asmodeus, take me instead. Make me yours. I am your servant of lust in the forbidden world. For you a tunnel was carved beneath the convent. A path walked each night into the city. There, I gave myself to all that bears dark pleasure. 100 men bore witness to that hunger. Love was never the aim, only your dominion. Leave, Clara. Take me. Let shadows run through my veins. Let every thought and deed carry your whisper. I am ready.
Shock spread across the witnesses' faces. Hands rose to lips, as though to hold back words tangling on their tongues.
Impossible,
Cried one of the nuns.
no one leaves the convent at night.
Ha! Liar!
Clara snapped, rising abruptly.
Do not believe a single word! I am Asmodeus' servant. After Father Bernard, Father Antoine followed.
All eyes turned. A sister signaled a girl from the convent to go to Giselle's chamber and verify the claim.
What are 100 men beside 2 priests who buried their desires deep beneath the skin?
Clara's voice poured over the crowd as the body rose higher still.
It is easy to tempt those who surrender each night to their own thoughts.
Now far above them all.
But true pleasure lies in the one who pretends to stand above such things.
Clara's gaze fixed on Father Antoine and drew him elsewhere. A cool summer night, air heavy with the scent of ripened grapes and dry grass. The study windows stood wide, letting in the final breath of the dying sun. Inside, around the oak table, sat 5 men, not seeking absolution, but knowledge. Royal advisors, lawyers from Poitiers, learned clerics, men accustomed to ruling over souls and estates. Yet this evening, they had come to listen. Anton stood by the weight of his bookcases, filled with Latin, Greek, and Hebrew volumes. A glass vessel lifted, liquid within catching the light, distilled water of herbs, prepared from a recipe unearthed in an Arabic manuscript.
You search for signs in the heavens.
Came the low, steady voice, filling the room without effort.
They are within you. The Chaldeans knew it. The Pythagoreans as well. We forgot.
A young nobleman leaned forward, dark eyes alight with admiration.
And the church, Father?
A faint smile.
The church fears what it does not understand.
Glass touched wood with a soft sound.
I understand. That is why I am hated.
The eldest among them frowned, gray in beard, a bishop's vicar ring upon his hand.
You speak like a man playing with fire.
Brows lifted, the gaze remained cold, yet something flickered at the corners of the mouth, amusement or perhaps contempt.
fire is only light we have yet to learn to look upon. You came because you know I see further. Spare me talk of safety.
The cup rose, a slow sip, eyes never leaving the guest.
Fear is for the flock. We are shepherds, or we are wolves. There is no third.
Silence thickened. No one objected, none could. Footsteps sounded, no turn of the head.
Tomorrow, we continue. Consider what was said.
The gentleman departed, slow, heavy in step. A deep sigh escaped the eldest, as though already certain of a bitter end. The priest remained alone, pacing tense. Then stillness.
Show yourself!
Curtains stirred. Clara slipped through the window.
What brings you here?
I think you already know.
Lips brushed with the tongue.
Leave. This was a mistake.
The door opened, but there was no movement. A hand slid gently over his shoulder. Slow, as if it already belonged there. No second question came, just a look. The man who had dismissed bishops and mocked cardinals couldn't look away. His arms dropped, heavy at his sides. When the figure stepped forward, the priest remained still. When fingers brushed against his chest, there was no resistance. The first touch was a question. The body answered before the mind could refuse. There was no rush. The contact lingered, patient. Warm breath ghosted along his neck, soft, carrying a trace of incense and something wild. The second touch was an answer. His hand rose, not to push away, but to hold. It found thick, dark hair spilling over shoulders like ink. A quiet breath followed, not of pleasure, but release.
Father,
Came the whisper, a prayer that did not seek God. Eyes closed. The third touch was the fall. The robe slipped away without sound. Skin burned with shame, anger, and desire locked away so long. The key had been forgotten.
now you are mine.
There was no protest. That night, Antoine ceased to be a priest, ceased to be reason. Only the body remained. And yet, on the cold cathedral floor, something more endured. A man whose will did not break. The other priests recoiled, their gazes filled with contempt and judgment. Still, there would be no surrender.
A lie!
The young exorcist objected.
There was an attempt to lead me astray, but faith prevailed.
Memory dragged him back to that summer day. The same window, the same wind.
Show yourself.
Came the quiet command. Curtains stirred. Clara slipped through the open window, skirts whispering against the stone.
What brings you here?
A flicker in the eyes this time. Warning, not invitation. A tongue passed over, dry lips.
You already know.
Leave now.
A step forward. A hand reached for his shoulder. The wrist was caught, sharp and firm.
I said, leave!
Silence. Fear forced a retreat.
But Father,
Return to your cell. Pray for forgiveness.
A swallow, then disappearance through the window. Alone again. No movement for a long while. Then the hand that had touched her was raised. Fingers trembled. That same unyielding resolve was turned toward the others.
Never trust a demon. It divides to rule.
The exorcist turned to Clara. The crucifix rose, but before words could follow,
It's true.
the voice cut through everything. The nun stood behind them, pale.
I was there. I saw the tunnels. No lie was spoken.
God help us!
The whisper spread like infection. Giselle smiled, something dark beneath it. Slowly, weight left the ground.
Look!
Someone shouted.
Take me, Asmodeus. Let me be yours.
The body rose level with Clara. A glance passed between them.
Leave that unworthy vessel. Let corruption flow through me. Every night I will ignite the fire in men.
Silence. Then something cracked inside Clara. The body twisted, sudden and violent. Black smoke poured from her mouth, flowing into Giselle. Clara collapsed, lifeless, still.
Bow before me. The demon of lust has chosen me to fulfill your deepest desires.
No!
Clara rose abruptly, voice cutting through the noise.
Asmodeus is not within you. He remained within me, forever. That night, I conceived. I will bear his child destined to rule over human desire.
Silence, then fear. Priests crossed themselves. Antoine turned pale.
Lies! I was chosen!
Giselle screamed. At that moment, one of the nuns collapsed. Then another, then more. Bodies twisted as if pulled by unseen hands. Their throats produced sounds no human tongue could form.
I belong to him.
One cried,
He is within me.
said another.
We all carry him.
Their voices merged into something monstrous. Eyes wide, pupils spread like spilled ink. One laughed. A third did both at once. Bodies arched backward with a sickening crack. And then the first rose from the floor. Then a second, then a third. Dozens of bodies lifted, clinging to walls and vaults like warped shadows.
Me.
Eyes locked on Antoine.
Cleanse me first.
No! Me!
Another lunged, fingers tangling in her hair.
I am the purest.
Screamed a third, clawing at her own skin.
I am the most sinful.
Answered a fourth, with a fervor that sounded like prayer.
Lies, perform the exorcism on me. I will bear the child.
One by one, they turned on each other, pulling, shoving, dragging bodies down and up through the air. They climbed over one another like drowning souls in an invisible abyss.
He will choose me. No, me?
He will touch me.
He will purify me!
Voices collapsed into a single, senseless howl. One hurled herself downward, struck the floor, and laughed. Another slammed her head against the stone. A third kissed the ground with fanatical devotion. A fourth clung to Antoine, dragging herself along his clothes. This was no longer a scene. It was infection. The crowd broke. People fled, stumbling, screaming, afraid to look back. The priests retreated, then turned and ran. The cathedral doors slammed shut with a dull thunder. Bolts dropped. From the outside, no one entered, no one left. Inside, the screaming continued. Months later, the hall was full, not with faith, with hunger. The judge sat high above, dressed in white, as if purity could conceal what was to come. The abbess, Sister Sophie, spoke through tears, voice sharp as a blade.
I am a victim, like all present. Father Antoine came to me in dreams, not as a man, but as something that enters the mind and stays there. You all saw the pact.
A document, written and signed in blood, was raised, then handed to the judge. Murmurs spread.
He sold his soul for power, defiled the poor nuns, conceived a child, corrupted innocence, and did not stop.
Whispers turned to unrest.
That was not enough. The rest fell under his spell. Every last one.
Your Honor, said the only man who had not stepped away from Antoine.
Clara had relations with Father Bernard before. Let us not build a sentence on doubtful testimony.
Look at her.
Sophie cut in.
Look at her belly. Who will take her? Who will claim that child?
A pause.
Women always pay. Men walk away clean.
Her eyes flashed.
Not this time. My nuns are virtuous. Their honor will not be stained by a sorcerer, a blasphemer. Will you deny the contract found in his chambers? Have you read it?
A vile lie.
Antoine said coldly.
Not my hand. Sister Sophie came to me. I refused. This is not a victim speaking, but wounded pride. I have never touched any of them. You fear my ideas because you cannot refute them.
The judge was already tiring.
Enough!
Clara cried.
He speaks the truth. It was all staged. There is no demon. There never was.
All turned.
It's true.
Giselle added.
He is innocent.
Silence fell heavier than any scream.
My dear girls.
Sophie's voice softened.
You are not yet free of his influence. Clara, you wish for a father for your child. But that is impossible, Giselle. Do not blame yourself. You were deceived. Your sins will be forgiven.
You don't understand.
Clara sobbed.
None of it is real. No one was possessed. Do not condemn him.
Silence!
The judge struck. Eyes fell to the document, then to the crowd. The decision had already been made.
Father Antoine, you are accused of witchcraft, sorcery, and alliance with unholy forces. You are sentenced to death by burning.
The hall erupted.
If you burn him, burn me as well.
Giselle cried.
You will kill him over my corpse!
She rushed forward, was seized, dragged away. Clara managed only to grasp his hand.
I will not abandon you.
She, too, was taken.
Order!
The judge called.
Mercy, Your Honor.
Father Michel spoke.
This man served the church. Have you forgotten his aid?
A long silence.
I will show mercy.
The judge said at last. Everyone froze.
He will be hanged before being burned.
But please.
The session is ended!
The day was cold, sunless. The whole city gathered. Antoine walked calmly toward the gallows. No glance at the crowd, no attempt to flee. Some spat, others threw food, some wept. No fear, no regret. The rope tightened. Fire crept closer. Clara clutched her stomach, unable to hold back tears. Giselle struggled, forced down again. A warning glance kept her still. The rope drew tight. The ground vanished beneath his feet. Then, a crack. The gallows groaned. Wood shifted. One beam, old and rotten, split like a dry branch. The body fell straight into the flames. The crowd gasped. No scream, no plea, only a brief smile before the fire swallowed it. The possessions did not end with his death. Clara carried life, but nothing was born. One night, the river took her. Giselle did not endure. Guilt moves slower than poison, but never misses. Sister Sophie finished her record. In them, he was a monster, but at night, the dreams remained. When she finished, a knife was taken. The hand that wrote it all was severed. Blood soaked into the pages, and at last, silence.
Now that it's over, do you recognize the historical case behind it? Comment your answer.